fluffy and white. The views behind us of the McIntyre Range and Colden were terrific as always, and it was also neat seeing the snow being blown around on top of those mountains from where we were. And it was also great that we weren't experiencing any wind at this point, thankfully. The top of Tabletop today felt like we were walking through the North Pole and I was Santa Claus. Not just because I'm jolly, but because my beard was frozen top to bottom, making it look like I had a white beard. And my beard is reddish brown, for the record. I lost Jonathan and Stefan, who were up in front of me, because I found myself stopping to turn around and take in all the scenery pretty often during this final peaky stretch. It might as well been the North Pole. Just unreal. Then I made my way across the summit to the brown wooden snow-covered tabletop sign around 110, 4,427 feet in the sub-zero yet sunny Adirondack winter sky. At this point, we dropped our packs and took in the incredible picturesque scenery from Tabletop, enjoying the front row views of Mount Marcy directly in front of us looking south, along with the Great Range to the east, or your left, the McIntyre Range and Colden to the west, on your right, and so much more. But now it was time to eat, so I crushed the other half of my triple-decker PB&J, along with some peanut butter M&Ms, of course. We layered up, fueled up, and took it all in. Since our goal for the day was to be on Phelps for the sunset, we planned to spend the majority of our hangout time on Phelps as opposed to Tabletop. We were also going to be meeting Jonathan's buddy Ben today at 3:30 at the base of Phelps, where he was going to hike up with us and enjoy the sunset. We made excellent time today and had no worries about making it to Phelps before sunset. But we decided to get moving, and we flew down this mountain. The trail being a snow-covered sidewalk allowed for fast, ski-like moving down with no issue. So down the ski slopes we went, away from the majestic North Pole-like conditions on Tabletop back down to the Van Hovenberg Trail, which we were back at before we knew it. We scaled the 0.7 miles down Tabletop in less than 15 minutes back to the trail split. From here, we kept plugging away and wondered when we were going to cross paths with the two gentlemen we met in the parking lot at the lodge earlier, who had the same itinerary as we did today. And as we backtracked our way down the Van Ho Trail, winding through the woods, over the wooden bridge at Phelps Brook, just before the Phelps Trail, we finally passed them. Turns out they changed their mind and decided to hike up Phelps first and then head up Tabletop for sunset instead. And that's why we didn't see them yet. Soon we made it to the trail split, again marked by a sign, a big trail split, and a giant boulder. We decided to rest for a bit, fuel up again, and wait for John's friend Ben to show up. We got here before 3 o'clock, and he wasn't supposed to be here until around 3:30, so we decided after waiting for a short time that we'd hike up and he'd just meet us at the top. So off we went up the 1 mile, never letting up steeper trail from the trail split to the top of Phelps. 1,300 feet of elevation gain during that 1 mile. It is a consistent climb. And once again, thanks to the perfect winter conditions, it made the hiking pretty quick. And this is a DEC-maintained trail, so it involves a lot of rock walking, hopping from boulder to boulder and whatnot. It's had a lot of trail love over the years. And with the snow, however, it was a nice, smooth, consistent terrain like we had hoped for. Awesome. Continuing to climb up Phelps right now, which is nice and steep. It's only a mile from the trail split, but it makes you work for every step in that mile. It's nice and steep. Nice and steep. I will say I was starting to feel it towards the summit, though. I was definitely ready to be there and hang out, since, as I mentioned, the trail never really lets up at all during that 1 mile. But, of course, I knew at the very least it would be a very fast trip down, so that was good. And the golden magic hour light was shining on the mountains all around as we were climbing, which made for a very nice vibe at this point. After climbing the small ice-covered slabs, digging our snowshoes into the ice, grabbing roots and climbing up spot after spot, we found ourselves at the top, walking along the ridge with Tabletop and Marcy to our right as we scaled the ridge with the short trees next to us and the giant cliff drop-off past those trees. It's a fun final walk over to the summit once you're up there. So we made it to the summit of Phelps at 4:15, plenty of time to enjoy the sunset 30 minutes from now. We dropped our packs, fully layered up, and prepared to enjoy the orange and purple filled sunset over the next 30 minutes here on top of Phelps Mountain, with an elevation of 4,161 feet. Just hanging out here on top of Phelps. We made it with plenty of time for the sunset. The sun is about to go down past Colden right now in the distance here in front of me. Orange is lighting up all over the place behind the McIntyre Range, Colden, And then if you turn around and look over here, we have the last light up on Giant right now and Marcy, which is kind of like a purpley hue. It's pretty awesome, especially with a clear sky like today and a lot of golden light shining on the snow all around, which is, again, pretty incredible. Hard to really describe it. You just got to see it. Plan on taking a nice sunset hike sometime this winter on a nice day. You won't regret it. But the sun should be completely down shortly. And we'll grab our headlamps and start making our way back towards the lodge in the dark, which is really not a big deal once you have your headlamps. After maybe 10 minutes, Ben made his way up, and it turns out he didn't get John's text. It actually made it to the trail split a mere minutes after we left, and he ended up waiting down there for us for about a half hour before he finally saw the text. What a bummer. I felt so bad. But he was in good spirits, and he also seemed like the type of person that probably doesn't complain very much. He also mentioned he had been skiing at Whiteface today. So he skied at Whiteface and then came out for a sunset hike up Phelps. He's super hardcore, props to him. At this point, the sun was about 30 minutes from setting, so the golden light shining at us and all over the high peaks was outstanding. It was hard not to take picture after picture after picture the whole time because it was constantly changing and getting better and better. The sun continued to set behind the McIntyre Range and Colden to the east from our perspective on Phelps. The orange glow coming from behind Colden and shining that golden light on the snow-covered trees all around us on this open rock ledge summit was really hard to beat. And then to our other side, facing the entire Great Range, Giant, Green Mountain, and more, the last light pinks and purples were lighting up their summits in a very pleasing way, while the valley below was getting darker and darker with each passing minute. It was just spectacular. I highly recommend sunset hikes in the winter. And they don't have to be high peaks either. Smaller mountains are just as good as anything else, if not better sometimes. I stood there with Stefan watching the sunset, and as we watched the sun go from being completely visible 1 minute and within about 5 seconds setting and no longer being visible over Mount Colden was an amazing sight. Actually watching the seconds as the sun goes down behind the mountains was something I'll always remember. The orange glow, however, was as vibrant as ever as the mountains became silhouette with the sunset light from behind them, and at this point I grabbed my headlamp out of my pack and put it on to be prepared once it's darker. We all stayed up on the summit for another half hour before beginning our trek back down. Off we went. I kept my layers on to start hiking down, and it was nice not having that constant chill that I've had all day that you get when you're hiking in the winter, so I was pretty comfortable. Until it was time to delayer because I was too hot, of course. But such is winter hiking. Put layers on, take layers off, put layers on, take layers off, repeat, and then repeat again. Down the trail we went. I told the guys, we're hiking out the whole way via moonlight. No headlamps. We don't need them. Of course I was kidding, but for a good 20 minutes that's what we were doing. It was quite fun. The bright white snow helped give us more light as well, so that was nice. We crunched our way down the Phelps Trail at a nice pace before coming out to the bigger slab climb. Maybe a 15-foot climb, the only real one on Phelps. So while I was going down it, I slipped and ended up butt sliding down the whole thing and almost took out Stefan in front of me. Fortunately, it was soft and no injuries as I was fine. I just slipped and then I slid. After another 10 minutes or so of hiking down, it was obvious we needed to turn the headlamps on. But, oh well. It was fun while it lasted. So on the headlamps went. We all carried a very nice, consistent pace all the way down the Phelps Trail. Then we were back at the trail split. Then we took the right on the Van Hovenberg Trail back towards Marcy Dam. We went back over the low water crossing again. And then soon we were back at Marcy Dam. And then the usual 2.3 mile hike from the Marcy Dam back to the Adirondack Lodge parking lot. We made it back to the lot at 7:15 p.m., roughly 2 hours from the top of Phelps back to the parking lot, totaling our sunset adventure today at just under 9 hours car to car. A perfect winter day in the high peaks. Well, another successful winter day in the woods here on Phelps and Tabletop. We couldn't have asked for better conditions. From the picture-perfect North Pole-like conditions on Tabletop to an orange and purple-filled clear sunset sky on Phelps. The high peaks put on a show today and, as always, did not disappoint. Thanks to John, Stefan, and Ben for hiking with me today, and thanks to you for listening to this episode of the 46 of 46 podcast. If you have a minute, give me a follow on social media at 46 of 46 podcast. Leave a rating and review wherever you listen, and stay tuned for new mountains, new stories, and new episodes coming soon. Remember to always leave no trace, do the rock walk, and if you carry it in, carry it out. Everything. every time, banana peels and all. See you on the trails.